They say water always finds its way, but I never thought it would find revenge. The morning I saw concrete where my creek used to flow, I felt something in me snap. That stream had been running through my family's land for 3 generations. It watered our cattle, fed the soil, and whispered through the willows every evening. Now, it was silent, smothered under HOA Karen's shiny new driveway. Karen wasn't just any neighbor. She was the self-appointed president of our Rural Improvement Association, a glorified HOA she'd created just to boss around the people who'd lived here long before her McMansion arrived. Her latest project was an extended driveway for her guests' golf carts, and when I told her it cut through my creek bed, she smiled like she was doing me a favor. "Oh, that little puddle? I thought it was runoff," she said, waving her manicured hand. "You'll thank me when it's less muddy back there." Runoff? That puddle was home to frogs, trout, and herons. I called the county office, filed a complaint, even showed them maps proving the waterway was natural. But Karen had friends, loud ones. Within a week, the county posted a notice. No violation found. She must have greased the right palms. That night, I stood by the dead creek, staring at the moonlight bouncing off her brand new concrete. It wasn't anger anymore. It was insult. She hadn't just buried water, she buried history. My grandfather had dug that channel with his bare hands to guide the spring runoff. Every rock in that stream was part of our story. The next morning, Karen strutted over in her designer boots, sipping iced coffee like she owned the valley. "Oh, Jack," she cooed, "don't be sour. We can't stop progress. Maybe you can dig another ditch on your side. Something more aesthetic." That was the moment I smiled, not kindly, but the kind of smile that promises payback. If she wanted to pave over nature, I'd remind her what happens when nature fights back. That night I started digging. Not another creek, no. Something far more poetic. I marked the slope leading down from the hillside and began carving a channel. Wide and deep. Karen's house sat right below the ridge. She'd built her precious driveway downhill from my irrigation source. Water flows downhill, Karen. Always downhill. I spent the next week working under the cover of dawn, shovel in hand like a man possessed. Every scoop of dirt was therapy. Every pile of rock was justice in progress. Karen's mansion sat at the perfect slope from my upper pasture, where the spring runoff gathered behind an old retaining wall. Most folks use that for irrigation. I was about to use it for retribution. You see, my family didn't just live on this land. We understood it. I knew every dip, every bend, every hidden spring that bubbled up after heavy rain. And with the rainy season coming early this year, I didn't have to wait long. The plan was simple. Dig a new channel that naturally redirected the overflow water downhill, straight, toward her precious driveway. Not sabotage, not destruction, just nature correcting an error. By Thursday, I had a system carved, lined with stones to keep the flow strong. To anyone else, it looked like a drainage improvement. Even the county guy who drove by nodded in approval. "Good thinking, Jack," he said. "You'll be glad when the rain hits." Oh, I'd be very glad. Karen, meanwhile, was busy bragging. She hosted her HOA wine night, showing off the new concrete. I heard laughter drift over the ridge, her voice cutting through like nails on glass. "See, this is what real homeowners do. We beautify the community. Beautify." She'd turned a living creek into a sterile slab of vanity, and she was proud of it. That night, clouds rolled in, thick and heavy. Thunder cracked across the sky and a grin stretched across my face. I checked my new trench one last time, flashlight in hand, rain already peppering my coat. The water started trickling, then gushing, and within minutes it was racing through the carved channel like it had been waiting for this moment all along. Downhill, Karen's floodlights flickered on. I could picture her stepping outside in her robe, clutching her phone, staring as water began lapping at her pristine driveway. By midnight, it wasn't a trickle anymore. It was a stream. My stream, reborn and roaring. The next morning, the entire neighborhood came out to see what looked like a miracle. The creek was back, alive, stronger than ever, and flowing right through Karen's new driveway, splitting it like a river delta. She screamed something about illegal water diversion, but by then, the county trucks were already on the way. I'd filed paperwork weeks earlier for land restoration. Legally, I'd just restored what was mine, and that was only the beginning of her drowning troubles. By sunrise, Karen's dream driveway looked like a war zone. The concrete had cracked down the middle, chunks floating in muddy water as frogs happily reclaimed their territory. I stood by my fence, coffee in hand, pretending to be surprised when she stomped out screaming my name like a battle cry. "Jack, you did this!" she shrieked, water splashing up her designer robe. Her precious SUV was half submerged, and a plastic flamingo drifted past her ankles like a symbol of defeat. "Morning, Karen," I said, calm as ever. Seems nature remembered her route. She glared daggers. "You diverted that water on purpose." This is vandalism. I'm calling the HOA. Karen, I said slowly, you are the HOA. Her face turned the color of raw beet. She pulled out her phone, dialing the county inspector she always bragged about knowing. Within hours, trucks rolled up again, but this time, they didn't have good news for her. The inspector stepped out, boots sinking into the new creek bed. Well, ma'am, he said, flipping through his clipboard. Mr. Morrison here filed a waterway restoration permit 3 weeks ago. Everything checks out. The flow pattern is completely natural. Karen blinked like she'd just been slapped by logic. Natural? It's flowing through my driveway. The inspector shrugged. That's because your driveway was poured over a protected stream bed. Technically, it never should have been approved. He turned to me and added with a nod, good on you for correcting it. The neighbors who'd gathered around started murmuring. Some even clapped. Old Mrs. Dawson yelled, "That's what you get for messing with the land, Karen." That's when she lost it. She spun on everyone, shouting about ungrateful country, people, and lawless squatters. Her voice cracked like a power line in the storm. Then, in a fit of rage, she kicked at a floating piece of concrete, only to slip and land, face first in the muddy current. Cameras were out in seconds. By noon, half the neighborhood had posted the video online. HOA Queen takes a swim went viral within hours. Comments poured in from all over the county. The meme versions were merciless. Her yelling mid-splash became a reaction image for karma at work. But I wasn't done yet. The county declared her driveway an unauthorized obstruction to a natural waterway and ordered her to remove the rest at her own expense. She'd paved over my creek. Now she'd pay to unpave it, stone by stone. Karen's tantrum might have flooded the internet, but her real flood was just beginning. The county's official notice arrived the next morning. Remove all unauthorized construction obstructing natural water flow. Within 14 days, she tore it off her gate in a fit of rage. But rules are rules, even the ones she used to throw at everyone else. For 2 weeks, I watched from my porch as contractors chipped away at her modern masterpiece. Every swing of their sledgehammers echoed like poetic justice. The woman who fined people for mismatched shutters was now knee-deep in mud, trying to save her crumbling empire. She tried everything to get out of it, claimed it was an act of God, filed a complaint saying I had manipulated nature, even showed up on my porch one morning, drenched and desperate. "Jack," she said, her voice trembling, "we can work something out. Maybe I can help you upgrade your property, make it more HOA compliant." I leaned on my fence and gave her the same polite smile she'd given me months ago. "Karen, I think my property's just fine the way it is. Nature seems to agree." The truth was, the creek had never looked better. The water shimmered clear again, fish returned, and the willows started greening up along the banks. The whole valley seemed to exhale, like it had been holding its breath under her concrete. Even the neighbors who once feared her started visiting my land again, sitting by the water and laughing about the driveway disaster. By the end of the month, her driveway was gone, every slab hauled off at her expense. She put her mansion up for sale not long after, claiming she wanted a drier environment. Nobody bought it. Word had spread far and wide about the river house. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, I stood by the creek's edge and listened to the water whisper through the stones again. The same sound my grandfather used to hear. It wasn't revenge anymore. It was restoration. Karen had tried to bury something sacred, but the land had its own memory. And in the end, it remembered who really belonged here. Weeks later, a new family moved into her old house. Nice folks. Brought pie on the first day and thanked me for the beautiful stream view. I just smiled and said, "Yeah, it's been here a long time. Glad you appreciate it." Because in this valley, water always finds its way, and karma does too. If you enjoyed watching HOA Karen get what she deserved, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more crazy real-life revenge stories just like this one.